Namaste and welcome to Tale of Inner Journey. And today we have a wonderful human being and a wonderful friend. Uh, and I'm already excited to talk to my very good friend. And I have been looking forward to this opportunity, this moment, to talk to him and introduce him to the whole world. Because for me, uh, Srinath is an example of many things like discipline. The way he holds himself, conducts himself is unparalleled. The way he takes himself forward with all the things he goes through is unbelievable. So for me, even though he doesn't know it, I always look up to him. I watch him very closely. He doesn't know how closely I watch him. So, but I do watch him, and every time I meet him, I get excited and I'm really thrilled. Today is one of my luckiest day in a way. So to introduce this wonderful human to all of you, thank you for agreeing to talk to us, and you are most heartily welcome you for this wonderful opportunity. So to start with, um, you you have come across, you have been jockey, race horse jockey for quite a bit of time. How did it start for you? When did you started that line, the journey?
Well, it all started with back in the early 90s when I was, say, just before I got into my teens. I was introduced to this wonderful uh, riding school, or where we all learned how to ride. My father was quite the example for me when I started. And then I grew up listening to all the stories, the horses that he had, the amateur races that he used to ride always excited me, and it was always it was something more of a fantasy that I would go to bed and dream about riding horses. But I never knew that this riding horses would take me on a journey all through my life so far, and I'm still a part of that's still a big part of me in where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
It started with just riding in a riding school, and then the riding school shifted inside the race course, and then I would see all these jockeys on horses riding around me every day around the race course. Our riding school was a uh, small, small ground or a section. It was called the Pund School, and where we used to ride our horses, and we would see these horses go around the race course every day, with jockeys riding long stirrups, trotting them, and riding with really short stirrups and galloping them around the track. So it was so fascinating. I mean, I would see their balance, and wow, it was just so fascinating. And I always wished that I could do that one day.
Mm-hmm.
So started over there, and then our riding club would also organize amateur races, and I started participating in them. And then I started getting good at it. I won a few races, and that made me want to ride more and win more races. We also went and competed in Chennai, and we won there. All the same time, at the same time I was also riding equestrian. We are also taking a part over equestrian events. We were doing show jumping and tent pegging and dressage. But somehow riding race horses was always, I looked up to it as a challenge, because those horses are just not easy to control or to
Yeah.
tame, for that matter. Race horses much more aggressive. They can they are just animals of flight.
Yeah.
They will want to go as fast as they can, and if you try to control them, or curb their enthusiasm, they will lash out at you. They will lash out with you on top of the horse. So it could mean anything. They would try put their head down and buck and throw you off, because if you they don't want to listen to you.
Yeah.
So the entire idea of having to control them in your control and do what you want them to do it was always something that I was looking up to, and I got an opportunity to join a racing stable one fine day, and then in that and that was for a couple of years before they suddenly announced. Usually, with a gap of 3 years, they announce that they are going to take applications for newcomers, for new
Okay.
jockeys who are called apprentice jockeys.
Hmm.
So it started over there. But by the time this happened, I was 17 and a half. And I had also grown quite tall and quite big. Unfortunately, those are not the essence of a jockey. You need
Yeah.
to be shorter, lighter. But I had already, at the age of 17, fully grown, or at least I had grown into an adult, young adult. It was going to be a big challenge. The day I threw my hat in the ring and said, "Okay, let me try this out." At least I thought I was good enough to get a apprentice jockey license, but whether or not you will make the cut was the was always going to be the big
Hmm.
question. But eventually, I did manage to get my body weight down to what it was required to,
Yeah.
and to come down to the weight of 51 kilos, and I was already weighing 65 by 17. Uh, it took me about 9 months to get that weight off. But back in those days, I did not have any proper guide, or how you say, a dietitian or someone to help you in that journey. So it was more about just do a crash diet or whatever. And eventually, I managed to land the job, and I did manage to get my jockey license. And I did have a lot of how you say, restrictions. My father was not he did not give his approval immediately when
Hmm.
I said I wanted to be a jockey. He said, "See, son, you are too tall and too heavy. You will not make it." So I kind of took it as a challenge, and I said, "No, I think I can. Let me try." I mean, I did ask him, like, can I try this and do this for a year and see how it goes?
Uh-huh.
So he said he thought about it, and then he let me know, okay, you can do it, but at the same time, you don't quit your studies. I said, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I can do both. I just entered the second year of college. I was doing my second PUC,
Hmm.
and same time I was just licensed. So when you're a newcomer, you're always going to start. Even in my stable, there were five jockeys ahead of me, so
Yeah.
I'm jockey number five. So I'm
Yeah.
not get the opportunity straight away. Um, I got a few rides, and then immediately my trainer realized, oh, this guy is going to turn out to be better than I expected. Though he's
Hmm.
tall, though he's heavy, he could. So I started getting more opportunities there. And as luck would have it, in 1 year I was flying. I was doing really well,
Hmm.
and my dad never came back and said, "I think we should." So
You
that's
said that your trainer saw you and decided that there is something in this guy. What do you think your trainer saw in you? Is that made his decision to give you more opportunities?
well. They always license in a batch of 10 when
Mhm.
they give the young boys a license and chances. As soon as when I wrote my first race, I mean, even if people tell me that when you look at that race, it's very hard to say that this jockey is riding for the first time in his life. And straight away, they picked up from that. This probably comes to him quite naturally. Actually, I think it was also all those amateur races I rode before,
Mhm.
which helped me in that progression of sort of settling in exactly where I should be. And
Mhm.
that gave me an opportunity to start. It gave me some kind of a foothold.
Mhm.
And there my trainer said, I don't know what it was, because I just kept on improving with each and every opportunity I got, each and every race I rode. That is how one should look at it, because no race is the same.
Yes.
Any opportunity that you're riding in a race, even if you don't win, if you don't finish on the board, You're riding a new horse. You're riding in a new situation. You
Hmm.
get to learn, and every time you have to absorb that and grow with it, and everything becomes an experience. That
Hmm.
the more you practice, the better you'll get.
Yes.
That's the theory, which is applicable in my field, in any field like this.
You said that you also had to go through a rigorous weight reduction in 9 months, 15 kilos. I have seen many people because you were not overweight,
No, no.
definitely not overweight.
For
You
my
were,
height, 65 is
yeah,
actually
for your height,
proper.
65 is probably the right thing there for an ordinary normal person. So I have seen many overweight people trying to reduce the weight and they struggle and they give up and they cannot do it and they feel failed. So for person with a normal build, you have to come down from there. What was your mindset? How did you prepare for that mentally? What was that discipline you went through that?
Well, like I said, back in the day when in the early 90s,
Yeah.
there wasn't. I mean, if I could look up, I don't think there were any dietitians, and they were definitely not going to suggest a diet to me
Yes.
wherein you're already where your body weight is exactly where it should be,
Yeah.
but you're trying to reduce another 10 kilos or more than that
Yeah.
to do something unnatural, and then you also have to have your energy about. You
Yes.
can't be a scarecrow sitting on a horse and with no
Yes.
energy. You and the horse will do whatever you need to have that energy as well. So
Yes.
I definitely cut down on my daily intake, what I would eat, and I would be very very watchful. And maybe on the days when racing was closer, I even had to give up water. So that last 2 days was probably the hardest.
Yeah.
And I sort of went into a direction because of I did not have proper help in how to maintain my
Yeah.
weight. I
Yeah.
went on a sort of a refugee diet. I mean,
Mm.
starve for 2 3 days after the race is over, and somehow, I don't know, when you sit on a horse, I don't know where the energy came from. it I would not feel anything till it's probably the adrenaline rush that one gets when you're sitting on a horse or sitting in a competitive race or in an environment like that. It would just come to me. I never would feel tired or weak or
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
like that. And straight away after the race is over, when all that is dead and the excitement is gone away from your body, and then I would recompensate what I did not eat for 3 days. I would binge eat. That was the early days, but then
Yeah.
I eventually understood what you have to do and
Yes.
how to keep it going.
So it takes a lot of firmness, uh, almost saying no to food. Is there.
Yes.
So that firmness, uh, of course, it is the most important thing to decide what is necessary for you.
Yes.
Where do you get that determination? Or I'm just asking because many people would like to know how to create that determination in oneself so that they can also go into their goals and achieve what they want to achieve. Because many of us, we give up. It's so easy to give up.
It's when you come to that, especially when you're reducing weight, and then when I had to come down to that final bit of weight. I mean, the weight that was the cutoff weight was 51 kilos.
Yeah.
And somehow when I got the weight down, I was quite comfortable at 55. But to come down that last 4 kilos, 3 or 4 kilos, it would just not come off. And then you would do rigorous amounts of walking, jogging, wear a heavy jacket, sweatsuit, or whatever it was. But that last 2 or 3 kilos is just not coming off. And then you probably, when you overexert yourself, you start getting blackouts, and you really
Mhm.
it becomes all the more impossible. That is one thing when you are at, like, it's probably like the situation where your back is to the wall and you can't do anything but fight.
Yeah.
That is something, it it has to, it's the last barrier that you break, and if you manage to push yourself through that, you will
Yes.
get there.
Oh, so, and that's the one hard part which you manage to reduce the weight. But once you mount the horse, there is a whole new challenge. There are other maybe 10 to 12 or 15 people there with the same determination, with the same drive, or maybe better, or maybe lesser than, wanting to get to that goal. And you are competing, you are standing shoulder to shoulder, or sitting seat to seat with all of them. And something is there that keeps you the winner again and again.
Yes.
Uh, so what is that thing
So
that?
that word that you're, I think, is called hunger for success. There is nothing that can replace it. That one thing should be clear in mind. There is no second place. In fact, in my game, if who finished second is not counted. Nobody cares who finished second.
Yes,
It's the
yes.
winner. Winner takes all. And it is, when like you're there in, if you're battling with another another jockey and horse for the win,
Mhm.
and you're that close, but you will want to dig deeper, whatever you can, but whatever happens, I have to cross the post first. So it's
Yeah.
not only you, it's the horse, and
Yes.
you are goading your horse. You and the horse are one.
Yeah.
You have to try and get that little bit extra from the before the other guy gets there. So it is something. It's a winning temperament, if you
Mhm.
if you may, if you say, it's the belief that you can do it, you will do it. It's almost like a compulsion. I hate it to I hate to be second, but at
Yeah.
the same time, even if you do get beat, and you have done your best, don't crucify yourself and say, like, you didn't win, you're not good enough. Don't put
Mhm.
yourself down. You've
Yeah.
done your best. You did done your best, and yet you and your horse did not win. It's fine. You live to fight another day. At the same time, you take whatever lessons you back from what has happened, the experience, and you try and grow on it, try and make it better. But at the same time, keep that edge, keep that concentration, and that effort. That, no, if I didn't get him this time, maybe next time. But
Yeah.
like, saying the same thing, the races, each race, if you say like a derby, it's run only once a year. So every
Yes.
time you want to compete in that, and you want to win that race, it's
Mhm.
important. It's for you to keep your eye on the target, keep your eye on the goal, no matter that you didn't win the first time or whatever. There were quite a few derbies that I rode before I won my first derby.
Yeah.
Almost from the day I started riding, I think it took me about 6 years to win my first derby, and that was the one race in my own center in Bangalore, to win the
Mhm.
Bangalore derby. It was a dream of mine. So
Yeah.
to come and achieve that, it doesn't mean that your dream has ended there. No, okay, I won the Bangalore derby. Now I want to win the Indian derby. That would be the next goal. So
Yeah.
you keep small things in, small keep small goals in place, but you don't try to just rest on your laurels. You try and keep on winning more,
Yeah.
getting better and better, and eventually you will get there. But at the same time, it's hunger for success, and nothing else will be second to that. Nothing can come. Nothing should be enough other than the win.
Yeah.
That is how we should. I
Wow.
don't know if it's I should say that, but this is how I have trained myself. How to be this way.
Yeah.
If there's a negative facing at you, try and look at all of the angles and try and make a positive out of it.
Yes, yes, yes. Because at the end of the day, if you sit back and see how many race you have won, those are the things that really makes you feel like, yes, I have done my share of things here. So uh, others may judge you for what you have done or what you have not done. You should not be so hungry for success or things like that. It's easy for others to judge you and say like, how can you be always like that? But from outside, we never know. We will never know what you go through. Like for example, like being with that kind of discipline you have to go, there are so many sacrifices you have to make in your regular life and social life and everything. That
Right.
won't come very easy. How do you manage that part?
Well, I think when I started, I used to those early days. I would always look up to my peers, my
Hmm?
seniors,
Yeah,
and if at all we get an opportunity, we'd go and sit with them during the race time in the jockeys room, and look at how they conduct themselves and how they prepare themselves. It sort of is. I started looking at them and observing them, and however they did everything. I mean, if they had a ritual before a race, or how they would just plan for a race or whatever, and then we would watch the race live and to
yeah,
see how it panned out for them. It and sort of it started to I started to pick up these small little things, and more than anything, it's when they come back and when they have their free time, you ask them questions, and the idea is to try and grasp as much as you can from them. Not everyone are articulate, not everyone can tell you how it went, even though they went with the game plan. The
yeah,
game plan never worked. How did they have a plan B? Did they have a
yeah,
plan C? Or were they just spontaneous?
yeah.
How did it happen? So you put all these things into perspective and learn from it. And how, if you are put in a situation like that, what would you do? How would you react? How would you take it? How would you take it from there?
Hmm.
And then I started to realize you have to be in the moment. Everything is in the moment. You if the when you when in a race situation, when a gap opens up, whether or not that gap is going to stay open, should I rush in there? If the gap shuts, both of us are going to have a fall, the horse and me. Whether or it you start to you start to uh, how you say, maybe for example, in traffic, you can see if there are two lanes of traffic, but
Yes,
one lane is moving faster than the other. So you have to have that sort of depth perception as to
yes,
which is going to come and when it is going to come.
yeah,
It's very intuitive. At the same time, it's also very um, you have to be very in the moment.
yes, yes.
You have to
So,
completely be zoned in.
so that means like you have, like when you say I have to be in the moment, yes, there is no doubt there is not no other way to be there. To
Right.
be in the moment is the only way to be there. But that is what actually people talk about being in meditation. So you may not use the word it's such a meditative state, but this is what I have heard when people
Yeah.
say being in meditation, being in that moment is the meditative state. Uh, for that, you as a body, mind, spirit, all the three have to function as one.
Right.
Yeah. So you cannot think,
Yes.
or even the thoughts has the decisions has to be made immediately, split second decisions, or
Right.
before you decide you have to act. It's all
Yes.
about uh, you make mistake if you don't just
Mm.
uh, follow the instinct. So this quality of being instinctively making the choices, this can also come in a big help as in your day-to-day life.
Right.
Because once you are there, it automatically happens, instinctively automatically happens. Does it also help in your day-to-day life? If you have any examples like that, can you?
I can't really write it. It's see when it's. I can clearly say what happens in a race situation is completely a high pressure job. It's also your
Yes.
adrenaline pumping, and you are trying to make split second decisions, which is normally at when we are sitting at leisure, and if we are doing say some kind of a business deal, you have an opportunity to sit down, think
Yes.
about the pros and cons, and then
Consult
decide.
people.
Like I
Yeah.
said, pros and cons. You have the opportunity to weigh your weigh this. But
Yes.
at that point of time, you don't have much of time. You are in fact, it's a split second decision. So it's you can't train for it. It's sort of it just the more and more times you do it, you make less and less mistakes. So
Mm-hmm.
the frequency of the frequency of riding also gives you that much of experience, that huge experience that is with you at that moment helps you.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, making good lifestyle choices or decisions also, it is a part of it, I guess, but it is not it is not you don't have the adrenaline rush to do it
Yes.
or anything
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So in life you have a calmer pace to think of and to do it. I started playing golf a few almost 8 9 years after I became a jockey, and I sort of when you are playing golf also, and it's you and the ball, it's how you will strike the ball. So
Mhm.
it's you have to again be in the zone properly where you're going to look at the target and and take your shot and
Yeah.
you sort of prepare for it. You go through the motions and you hit the shot that you want to in your mind. So I can only compare these two things together. They are both different things, but
Yes.
also the only thing that matters at time is you and the job to be done. So you have to do it the way you think is right. So you are doing what you're in a race situation. You are doing what you think is right. It's not like there's a earpiece in my ear and somebody is telling me do this, do that, or anything like that. So it's again everything is up to you. But how you plan it out in your head, you are
Yes.
going to. Uh,
So here that any decision you take, you are entirely solely responsible for it.
right.
Nobody is going to say like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I made you decide that,"
They'll
or
be in
anything.
judgment of you after the event is over.
Yes. Yes. So you might have had accidents in the sport.
Right.
So how do you cope up with that? How do you come out of it? Because some of them can be very bad and some can be sometimes fatal for some others. So when you go into an accident, when you have serious injuries, how do you come out of that?
Well, I've unfortunately, it is the part and parcel of this game. There have been lots of accidents in my career, and some have been almost close to it could have meant I would never ride again. Now,
Mhm.
when the first time when actually the first time uh, my really bad or serious accident the first time I had was not by falling from a horse. It was actually a car accident, and
Mhm.
I fractured my C3 C4 spine.
Okay. Yeah.
And for that, at that moment, the doctor just came into the room. This is about 4 days later, after all the reports had come. Said, "I don't think you'll ever ride again." Now, that was just heartbreaking for me. It was something like I never even thought anybody would come up and say that to me. I was so disappointed, but I did not lose hope. I did not give up hope that saying that I will probably never ride again. I I I waited till my injury healed for a long time, but then there was still so much of stiffness in the neck, and I was just not able to become flex it or turn. Or I had become almost like my neck just would I could just not turn
Mhm.
my head. So I started doing yoga, and then slowly the flexion came. Everything started to ease off. It took me almost 9 months to get back on a horse, and
Oh,
that period between injury and recovery was first you go through the heartbreak.
yeah,
Oh, it's happened to me, and now you need to see how you can recover from this, or are you going to make a full recovery? So, but I can say I made a full recovery as to I got back to riding, and I disproved the theory of what the doctor said. But I was never the same. I was never the same rider. My neck would not, the
yeah,
flexion had gone. So I had to work around it to see how I could make a different kind of how could I give
yeah,
make an allowance for this for the neck not to I should not injure myself anymore, but how I can work through it. And eventually my riding style changed a little bit, but I did manage to make a full recovery, as in, whatever my potential was as to where I should get as a jockey. I did not really veer off too far from
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
line.
Okay. For 1 second, oh yeah. Oh, I don't know what happened. Suddenly there was brightness. I was about to say, can we put some light because your face had gone darker. Now there is light. Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a bit sunny and cloudy. Sometimes the weather
Yeah.
changes here.
Uh, I was wondering, like, because it went down and then now suddenly it came up. Okay, continuing back with that. When you go into an injury, like, because you had a car accident, that accident, when you said, like, I was heartbroken when the doctor said, done with the riding, you cannot ride anymore. You are like, everything collapses. You, the whole,
Yeah, the
yeah,
whole
it's,
world comes crashing down.
yes. So there is no tomorrow. There is nothing left for you.
Nothing to look forward. Yeah,
Almost life ends there.
right.
But this is where, for me, that's the most important part. This is the time, the statement from the doctor, because it's the most important statement for us, because we put everything on the doctor's hands, and because we need the help, and they are the one who provide the help, will
Right.
help them to come back to life.
Right.
And once the person who is there in charge tells you there is no hope, something in you that stands against all of it, against the whole world of darkness, there is a small ray of light. And to connect to that light is the most important thing. How did you do that? How did you find that small ray of light? And what, how did you?
Well, I get the question.
Yeah,
What makes you keep on hoping against hope that
yeah. When
one day
everything is, yeah, yeah,
it's not about me trying to disprove the doctor's theory. It just means that this is an adversity, and you have to work. And if I think back on those days when it happened, uh, I would tell myself, you managed to do something which is not possible, as in getting your body weight down and making it as a jockey. Those things were quite hard as it is. Now this is also hard that you had an accident. You're probably never going to be the same person as before. You
hmm,
have to try and it is just small goals or small targets that you keep, and then you slowly start to push yourself and see. And one day you get there to stage one. Maybe one day you'll be able to break that and move
yeah,
forward. It's maybe setting small targets for yourself and getting out of it,
mhm,
and that was the first injury. Now after that, I've had many, and every time I have an injury, I sort of laugh to myself. Is yeah, just one more, more stone on the road.
There is one small observation. I think if I had heard you clearly, you said it took 9 months from the car accidents to get back again on the horse.
Yeah,
So, and you said it took 9 months from the putting the application and reducing the weight from 65 to 51. So there
yeah.
is something with the 9 months. It is almost like the gestation period of being in the womb. So that gestation period has been very crucial for you in a way.
Well,
So
it also gives you, yeah, the 9 months is also, it takes a lot of, how you say, self-realization, and you need to regroup, and
yeah,
that happens, and you can out of, I think, I believe in any adverse situation or anything that happens, you have to sit back, take stock, and then only then you can take the next step forward. It's maybe it's a coincidence about the 9 months, as you pointed out. I did not realize before.
it just hit me like that. So
Yes,
yeah,
but yes, it's easy. It's quite yeah. To put it in the same sentence, it's quite. That's sort of
yeah. Um, if you look, because you had a few other accidents on the track, being in
right.
the race, whether it is the car accident or the accidents on the track riding, when you look back, uh, if you see, if you roll that in your mind, the whole image of that moment, what is that you could have done better? Do you feel that this is where I made a wrong decision or a mistake or something like that, and that does that help you in any
Oh,
way?
well, the car accident, actually, I was traveling in a taxi that had nothing to do with me. It
Yeah.
was the driver who was driving, and he fell asleep when
Oh,
it was a car full of people, and unfortunately, two people lost their lives as well.
yes,
And,
yes,
it's,
it's great to hear that.
it sort of is a trauma still. It's something that uh, don't want to visit it too often,
Yeah,
but it's
but
happened. It's an event in your life.
mhm,
Yeah, but everything that happens is an event or will end up as an experience in your mind. It is
mhm.
something that you will live with no matter what has happened in the past, good or bad. It's all going to be a part and parcel of your life.
Yes, that's right. So now coming back here again to the, let's come to the horse part. You said you and the horse are one. There is something that unifies you both. uh, you can articulate what you go through, but the horse can never.
Right.
But sometimes probably you develop a kind of connection with the particular horse or with something like, how does that match?
Yes, this is actually quite amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, I've actually, I've had this opportunity in my career to ride a lot of horses. Sometimes you just end up on a race day. You're booked to ride a race in Calcutta or Bombay,
Mhm.
wherever. You just land up there. First time you're seeing the horse. All you've done is maybe watched a couple of videos. If at all the
Yeah.
horse is running for the first time, that is also not a possibility. The trainer tells you or gives you a few helpful tips of, he's been okay in work, he's quite normal, he's this, he's that. Then you probably talk to the guys who've been riding him at track work. But uh, only when you're like given a leg up and get on the horse's back, the horse immediately realizes or understands who sits, uh, if it's an experienced rider or if it's not, and you straight away get the feel of the horse, and it's about how you connect with the horse. It's something, it's maybe years and years of riding lots of different horses, and your confidence. It's what you how you engage with the horse, how you make the horse feel comfortable, and
Mhm.
then make him understand or realize you are the master. You are going to you are going to guide him in what he has to do. You do,
Mhm.
he's going to do everything, but you are going to guide him, and he's going to listen to you, how you want him to do it. Saying that, I've had this opportunity to partner some really great horses. There are a couple of, not couple, like loads of horses, tens and of horses where I've had such a great connection, and the just because of the horse and the rider having a good connection, you get a better result. The horse almost gives a better gives does more than expected, and that has happened quite a few times. Now I don't know if you want me to give you an example of how this
Yeah, it
was.
would be wonderful. Yeah. You don't have to mention the name of the horse, but
Yeah,
if you can just say, yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So I had this opportunity to ride a horse it was a sprinter. And a very talented horse. But the way I would ride her and the way she and I had an understanding, we almost like we it was an unbeatable combination. We
Mhm.
we we raced together in India what 14 times, and I won 13 times with her. The only
Wow.
one time that she didn't win was when we ran the wrong race. We ran a distance which was 1 mile, and it was just too long for her.
Yeah.
Anything between 1,000 meters to 1,400 meters, she would never lose. But
Wow.
yeah, so we had that amazing connection, and I would go to the stables. I did not even need to take a lead rope and bring her out. I would just she would walk with me. I mean, it was like having a pet dog at home. Just that much of trust and faith she had in me.
Yeah.
Amazing, because even in a race situation, I would never, when you have to get the best out of horse, you use your riding whip to get the
Mhm.
best. I never even had to do that. All I had to do was click and just give her a tap, and she knew exactly what was wanted, where
Mhm.
she had to speed up, where she had to uh, just slow down and stay in the group. It was just amazing. I've never had this connection. The best connection I would say was with that
Yeah.
horse. I've had great combinations with lots of horses, and I imagine the more I work with the horse, and the better the connection gets. But unfortunately, because jockeys as a jockey, you ride all over the place. So riding a
Mhm.
horse
Yeah.
every day, every morning is not physically possible. It is
Yes.
a
Yes.
challenge.
Coming to the question of the fellow jockeys, like you have a, a group of them, like maybe 10 to 12, or depends on how many are there. There are so many of them. How do you guys relate with each other? Is there kind of like uh, during the
Yes,
race?
there is a camaraderie. There is a fellowship. There is a brotherhood of jockeys, and getting a jockey license and sitting with each other is not a common thing. To
Mhm.
be a jockey, to come into that group of jockeys, elite group of jockeys, is quite hard. It's once you get there, it's also like, everyone has given up a lot. Everyone has had their struggle. Everyone has had their fair shares of ups and downs,
Mhm.
and we all look at each other, or we all respect each other. We have that mutual sense of respect, because everyone has given up something just to be where they are. It's just
Mhm.
not my story. Everyone has a story of their own. It is a path less chosen, and it's definitely a lot of sacrifices everyone has made to be here. So you give that sense of respect, that you have that sense of pride just to sit with them, and
Yes,
you have that fellowship as well, and you have mutual respect.
that's wonderful because that's where the that pride or that dignity
Yes,
is. It is so important.
everyone may ride a horse, but being a jockey and getting into that elite group of jockeys is just not
Not
it's not
easy. It's
easy.
not.
If
Yeah,
everybody
because
knows, yeah, anyone can ride a horse, but very few can be a jockey.
I know that very well. um, yes, the place where you are, I I have thought that I know where you are, and I have seen what are the not all of it, some of the achievements you have, and I know your height because your mannerisms, your behavior, the way you compose yourself, the way you conduct yourself tells you who you are. You have achieved many people can't even dream of. So, what next for you?
Oh well, like I said, I'm trying to live in the moment. It's very hard. I'm sitting here in the Netherlands recovering from an injury
Yeah.
in my in my time. At the same time, I'm waiting to get back on a horse.
Mhm.
I've always been asked because I've been in this game for more than 25 years. What next? What are you planning to do next? Do you want to be a trainer, or do you? Yeah, well, I fairly see myself being with horses all my life, but at the same time, I don't want to go back to the to training. At the same time, I'm enjoying it. Whatever I'm doing just now, and as long as I can do it, as long as I know I can do my best, and I'm going to try and do it. It's not an age or a number that one can put down, but
Mhm.
I'm going to do it as long as I can.
No, if
Basically,
the age was something that would put you down, it would have happened when you had the car accident. It would have put you down.
yeah.
So it's not that something decides for you.
Yes,
You are the one who will make the decision when you realize that is the right thing for you in that moment. But uh, I just wanted to know if there is any targets that you want to, or because many times we don't even know that I'm going to get there. But
yeah.
life keeps you taking forward and forward, or in its own way, we keep moving, and then sitting down and looking back, we may realize that I have traveled so far. That's that. I was just wanted to check if you have any targets like that. That's the wonderful way to be in the moment and to see what comes next.
Yes. What comes next?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's almost like man proposes and God disposes otherwise. So
Yes. 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 Yes.
it's better to keep your ambitions in check and
Yes.
under your hat, and just look forward to what you're given, what is there in front of you to
Yeah.
achieve.
Just for uh, some help for people who would like to uh, use some words or some motivational words or inspirational words, or like some people who give up very easily.
Mm.
They don't even do hold their discipline, move in the right direction. Is there anything that any tips or anything that you would like to tell them so that they can use it for their own growth?
Well, motivation is one thing. It's very hard to explain what motivates you. How do you get the motivation? Now you've done 1 week of good dieting, good exercise, but somehow you get up one morning and say, I just don't feel like doing this anymore. It's one of those off days when you just can't pull yourself together and do it.
Yes.
It's you feel really depressed, motivated, and demotivated. It can happen to
Yeah.
anyone. It is it's right now, like I said, I'm going through an injury. It was just after the surgery. I was progressing really well. Something went wrong. I took one wrong step, and I twisted
Yeah.
the knee again, and then it felt like I've gone back to square one. It felt like, oh, this is the pain I felt when I just came out of surgery.
Mhm.
It was almost like, I've all that disappointment, all that everything came back at once, and I just
Mhm.
felt completely. dejected, demotivated, and so all you can do is take a few days off, think about how what went wrong, what, and slowly try and work out of it, try and get out of it. If you stay in that same moment, in that same shell, it will close up, and you will just uh, you'll just get dragged down by it.
Yeah.
And it is something that you should not allow yourself to, uh, for that to
Yeah.
happen. It's
So from the very first signs that I get that I'm going down, I have to start working on that and stay. I'm not going to give up here. So once you give up and it becomes a tumbling block,
Yes,
and
yes,
yeah,
it'll cascade, or you'll just it'll drag you down.
yeah,
I've had a fair share of ups and downs, or falls, or suspensions, or you've been laid off from the saddle. Things like this will keep happening, and it's not the end of it. It is not. It's not the first. It won't be the last. Think of it like that. You've had an injury, yeah. So you will heal. You will recover. It takes time, but you will make a comeback. Keep
hearing
positive.
this from somebody who has gone through a fair share of injuries is so motivating, because you have had few injuries, and when you say that for somebody who goes into the one small injury and they start to give up, this is so valuable for us to
Oh,
hear it.
yes. Wait till you're completely healed. Get
Yes,
back into the battle.
yes. So that's such a wonderful thing to hear that. So, and this is such a wonderful opportunity. And I'm so happy that I get to talk to you. And
No
thank you for
problem.
this real wonderful situation for me, opportunity to talk to you. And thank you once again. I
Thank you.
really honor this.
Thank you very much.